Hello, YouTube. This is Gmail03. In the previous lesson, we talked about frozen dictionaries, and we said that while it's not a standard data structure in Python, we can basically build a class that will implement a frozen dictionary. We're talking about a collection of key value pairs that's immutable. Okay, so we're thinking about a data structure where we can stick in a key and get a value out, but we're not allowed to add or remove key value pairs, and we're not allowed to reassign values associated with particular keys. So we can go ahead and think about the class that we talked about in the previous video, the class that we implemented in order to use a frozen dictionary. But I first wanted to do a little bit of review. So we know that we can import a module and rename it, right? So we could say import m as n, right? And then if we do that, we would call n.f. If there's some function in the module m that has a function f, we could refer to it as n.f if we rename the module for the context of our program, right? And then we also talked about, so we can do a little bit of a review here. So we said if all your code is embedded in functions, you can go ahead and run your module as a script. So if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals double quotes underscore underscore main underscore underscore double quotes colon. So basically exec of x executes string x, which must contain executable Python code. Y equals iter of x creates an iterable on a data structure x, and we can call next of y for the next element. A val of x returns the literal value of the expression or variable within the string x. And then JSON is a module that we'll review in this video for converting a string into a dictionary and vice versa. So it supplies two functions, one for turning a string into a dictionary and the other for turning a dictionary into a string. So if we say exec of c equals 10, and then we can say print a val of c dot lower, and here you can see the c is in uppercase, but then we'll convert it to lowercase and we'll return the value that's represented by that variable, and that'll be 10. And then if we say print a val of c concatenated with plus, concatenated with 5, that would give us 15. And then we can say y equals carets, my length equals 0. For z and iter of y, my length plus equals 1. Assert that my length is equal to length of y. So presumably, we're going to use an iterable, and we're just going to increment the value of a variable for every element that's in the iterable. And here a string is considered a type of iterable. Like we can call iter on a string or a list or a tuple or a set or a dictionary or a frozen set. So then if we say iter of y, and then we could say my length plus equals 1, and that would just increment my length from 0 to 7, because there's 7 characters in that string. And so this would return a true Boolean, and there would be no issue with that assertion, right? The code would still run, and there's no runtime error, because we said that assert would return a runtime error if this Boolean were false. And then we say my length is 0, and we can try something else. So we can say z equals list of iter of y. For k and z, my length plus equals 1, and then again, assert my length equals length of y, and indeed that must be the case because there's no runtime error. And then we can say z equals iter of y, my length equals 0, while true, try s equals next of z, my length plus equals 1, except stop iteration, pass, break. So that would just increment my length however many times we can iterate through this loop, and it would just iterate 7 times until we hit the break statement, because eventually there's going to be a stop iteration, right? We can't call next of y on an iterable y anymore if there are no more next elements to return. And then we reviewed JSON. So we said define JSON object of S. And in order to use JSON, we have to import the module. So we can say import JSON as J. Okay, so now if JSON has a function called dumps, we're going to call j.dumps of S rather than json.dumps of S, because we're importing it under a different name. So hopefully that's clear to you, but we can say define JSON object of S, return j.loads of S. So it would just accept a string containing a dictionary and return the actual dictionary. And then JSON string, this lambda function works the opposite way. So we accept a W and we return j.dumps of W. And we said the dumps function accepts some Python object and returns the JSON string. So it wraps it back into a string. It's the opposite of the loads function. But if we say my dictionary and then we have a string, right? So it maps A to 95, B to 85, my number to 85, and the string 84 to 85, because we said the keys in a dictionary have to be unique, but the values in a dictionary don't have to be unique. And then we could say my dictionary equals JSON object of my dictionary, print length of dictionary, and then we get 4 because there are 4 key value pairs in the JSON dictionary after we call the loads function. And then we could say my dictionary.update of C was 75, so print my dictionary, and then you can see that key value pair is inserted. And then there's another way to do that, so we could say my dictionary of D equals 65, print my dictionary, and then we get, and then you see another key value pair, and then you could say my dictionary.pop of my number. So that would go ahead and remove the key value pair where we have a key, my number, and a value 85. So we say for Q in my dictionary, if my dictionary.get of Q equals 85, print Q. And so that would just print the keys that give us a value of 85, and that would just be B and 84. And then if we say S1, S2 equals 82, 84, so again, as we talked about, this is an example of tuple unpacking. S3 equals 100 times S2 minus S1, so that'll be 100 times 2, which is 200. S3 equals JSON string of S3, so that'll give us the string 200. And then print length of S3 concatenated with S3, so that'll be length of 200200, which will be 6. And then print whether or not the length of my dictionary is equal to the length of JSON string of my dictionary, and that will be false, right? Because the dictionary has way fewer key value pairs than the string has characters, right? Because there's only 4 key value pairs in this dictionary up here. But if you were thinking about the string, there's like 60 or 70 or 80 characters probably. And then A equals 323, print type of A, so that gives us a tuple, but print type of JSON string of A, that gives us a string. And then Z equals, exec of Z equals, this is a very, very long value in a very, very short dictionary. So the short dictionary just has 1 key value pair. And then print length of short dictionary colon equals JSON string of short dictionary. So that would just give us 73 because there are 73 characters in that string after we convert the dictionary into a string. So hopefully that's clear to you. And then we implemented frozen dictionary. So we have a class called frozen dict, and then we have a constructor defined init of my dictionary. We said self is not a parameter. It just indicates that it's essentially an instance method, right? A constructor is a special type of instance method that instantiates an object, right? It creates an instance of a class at the beginning. So we say self.dictionary equals my dictionary because just like we implemented stacks and queues with a list, we can implement a frozen dictionary with a dictionary. So we just say self.dictionary equals my dictionary. And then how do you find the length of a frozen dictionary? Well, we would just return the length of the dictionary on which the frozen dictionary is based. And then we have a get item magic method. So get item of item. So if it's not the case that the item is in self.dictionary.keys, just return the string, not in the dictionary, but otherwise return self.dictionary of item. So give us the value that's associated with that key. And then we can also say set item, but we would say that that would essentially raise a type error because we would say that we're not able to change a frozen dictionary, right? We can't add key value pairs to an iterable, to a data structure that's immutable. And then we can have a get method because we said with dictionaries, in order to get a value associated with a key, you can either have square brackets, right? You can just say dictionary of some key, or you can call dictionary.get and then with parentheses some key, but get of item. So if it's not the case that the item is in self.dictionary.keys, again, return the string not in the dictionary, but otherwise return self.dictionary of item. It works the exact same way as the get item magic method. And then we have a str. So how do you print a frozen dictionary? So we would just return a formatted string, return F, and then in the string we would have self.dictionary. So just print the dictionary on which the frozen dictionary is based. And then how do we see if an element is in the frozen dictionary? But we're gonna define that as by seeing whether or not the item that we pass in is in self.dictionary.keys. So X is in frozen dictionary if X is a key in the frozen dictionary. But for a value, we could have a separate method called contains value. So it's an instance method. And if you were a good software engineer, you would go ahead on your own and come up with some doc strings, right? You would provide some helpful documentation for other engineers, but this would return whether or not the value that we pass in is in self.dictionary.value. So it's different from the contains magic method because the contains magic method returns true if the item we pass in is a key. And then we could add 2 frozen dictionaries together. So we say new frozen dictionary, new frozen dict equals dict. So an empty dictionary. For K in self.dictionary.keys, new frozen dict of K equals self.dictionary.get of K. for v in other.dictionary.keys, if it's not the case that v is in self.dictionary.keys, new frozen dict of v equals other.dictionary.get of v. Q equals frozen dict of new frozen dict, return Q. So basically append two sets of key value pairs together. But with this other dictionary, if there's already a key that we recognize in our main dictionary, then we're not going to add on that key value pair. We're just going to say if it's not the case that we already have that key value pair, then we'll add it on. Okay, and then we have static method and class method frozen dictionary. So we've talked in the past about the differences and similarities between static methods and class methods. They're both called on the class, and they can both be used as factory methods. So they're essentially factory methods that create instances of a class, and they basically make calls to the constructor on lines 55 and 61 for the static and class methods respectively. But we would say return frozen dict of my dictionary, right? It's just calling the constructor with the input that we pass in, but it's doing that either in the context of a static method or a class method, right? So we could go ahead and review that. So then I'm just going to go down here and we can say, I think we called the try frozen dictionary method, but we say dictionary T equals 1, bool of 1, 0, bool of 0, potato 5.75, 5.75, tennis, soccer, tennis. Print length of dictionary T, we get 5. Print dictionary T of potato, we get 5.75. So this is calling the get item magic method, right? And then this would be calling the length magic method, but we incorporated the functionality to get these methods to work. And then we say frozen dictionary T equals frozen dict of dictionary T, right? So now we're taking it from it. I guess we're not really calling the length magic method until here, right? But then the get item magic method, we're still working with a regular dictionary up until line 186. And then we call our constructor in the frozen dict class. And then we can try the length magic method, the get item magic method. We can try the get instance method, okay? We can try basically the call magic method, and then we can try print tennis.lower in frozen dictionary T. So basically that would go ahead and return false, right? So we have the true and false here. So potatoes in frozen dictionary T, because we said the contains magic method will return true if potato is a key, and it is, but tennis is not a key, it's a value, so that's why we get false for the second Boolean. And then we say frozen dictionary V equals frozen dictionary T plus frozen dictionary U after we create another frozen dictionary called frozen dictionary U, which has two key value pairs, and we see potato is an overlapping key. So the question is, do we replace the value or not? So then if we go ahead and print the sum of the two frozen dictionaries, we see that the value associated with potato is still 5.75. It didn't get replaced by 999 because that's the functionality we specified in our add magic method. And then frozen dictionary W equals frozen dict dot class method frozen dictionary of 335. Print frozen dictionary W of 3, and then that would go ahead and give us 35, right? Because that's the value associated with that key. But then if we say frozen dictionary X equals frozen dictionary W plus frozen dict dot static method frozen dictionary of 3 with stinky socks, print frozen dictionary X dot get of 3, well then that would basically give us 35. That would give us this 35 because we said the value is not going to be replaced, right? That's testing the functionality that we decided to incorporate in our add magic method. And then frozen dictionary Y equals, so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about another magic method. So in this video, I wanted to bring up another topic, and there's not going to be a whole lot to add on. I wanted to give us enough of a chance to review JSON module and frozen dictionary class. But basically what I'm going to do is review subclasses and inheritance. So basically what we did is in lesson 34, we talked about inheritance. We said that basically a class can extend another class. So what we do is we have one class here. It's defined from lessons 64 to 70. It's very short, but it's a subclass of frozen dict because it says class callable frozen dict of frozen dict. So basically as a review, callable frozen dict is a subclass of frozen dict. Basically that means that the subclass inherits all methods and functionality from the superclass. Okay, so a callable frozen dict is able to do everything that a frozen dict is able to do. So these magic methods that we were talking about, like the static method frozen dictionary, the class method frozen dictionary that contains value, the get, other methods like length, those methods are going to be inherited into the subclass, but there's another new method that's available to the subclass that's not available to the superclass, and it's called call. So we've already talked in the past about the call magic method. So the call magic method defines what it means to treat an instance of a class as a function that we can call with parentheses. So how does it work? So what does it mean for a frozen dictionary to be callable? So we say class callable frozen dict of frozen dict. It's just a subclass. It's very similar to frozen dict. It gets all the same methods, but then it gets one more, right? Because we said the frozen dict, it doesn't look like it's callable, right? It doesn't look like the frozen dict class is callable. There's no call magic method, but in the subclass, there's a call magic method. So it says define call of P, right? Self is not an input. It just indicates that it's an instance method. So define call of P. Presumably, we have to pass in one input P. So it says if P is in tuple of self.dictionary.keys, return self.dictionary of P. Okay, so presumably, we pass a key into the instance and get a value out, okay? But otherwise, we would just return that key is not in the dictionary. So basically what we can do is we can think about what's called callable, okay? And so I want to show you what callable means. So what we're going to do is we're going to say print callable of frozen dictionary X. And you can see frozen dictionary X is an instance of the frozen dict class. How do we know that? Because it basically added two frozen dicts together, right? Because it adds one frozen dict plus another frozen dict returns a frozen dict, right? If you go ahead and scroll up to the add magic method, it says Q equal on line 45 and 46, it says Q equals frozen dict of new frozen dict, return Q. So it returns an instance of the frozen dict class. But then we say print callable of frozen dictionary X and it returns false. But then we say frozen dictionary Y equals callable frozen dict of 9, 90, 7, 70, 5, 50, right? And then it basically returns true for that. So the point, what I wanted to tell you in this video, it's going to be a short topic, but callable of X is a standard Python function that accepts an input and returns true if X is callable. That means that X is either a function or an instance of a class that provides a call magic method. So hopefully that's clear to you. So if we say print callable of map, right? Remember when we studied the map of function iterable? So we said map of function iterable is a generator that accepts a function in iterable and it yields the output of the function for each of the input elements in the iterable, right? So if we say print callable of map, so let's go ahead and print the output there, right? It should just show up after that true, right? So it says true. So map is callable, right? But then if we say print callable of float, so is float callable? So is that a function in Python? So let's go ahead and run it. And indeed, that's another callable, right? But if we say print callable of print, right? So any function is callable, right? And you can see that these are examples of callables, right? But then what if we say W equals 177, and then we say print callable of W? So then let's see if W is callable. It's just an int, right? Is W callable? No, it says false. Okay, so basically we say callable of X, so it's a function and it shows up in purple, just like map and flow and print. Like these are standard functions, right? Just like range. Range is a standard function in Python. That's why it shows up in purple, right? Another one, map, filter, int, right? Int of X, right? That returns the integer form of X, but those are functions and all of those are callable, right? But we're saying that a callable object can also be an instance of a class that provides the call magic method. So here in the superclass, in the class that we've talked about in the previous video and reviewed in this video, defined from lines 5 to line 61, there's no call magic method, right? We talked about all these methods that we supplied, but none of them are called call. But then if we go into the subclass, the only adjustment that we make in the subclass, the only thing that a callable frozen dict can do that a frozen dict cannot do is be called, right? And that's literally why I called it callable frozen dict, right? It's an intuitive name for the subclass because it provides a call magic method. So you say define call of P. So if P is in tuple of self.dictionary.keys, return self.dictionary of P. Otherwise, return that key is not in the dictionary. So I wanted to show you a quick example, right? I think I already have some output on the screen, right? But then if we go ahead and do frozen dictionary y equals callable frozen dict, map 9 to 90, map 7 to 70, map 5 to 50. So it accepts a dictionary, it returns an instance of the callable frozen dict class. So print frozen dictionary y of 9. Well, that would basically give us 90. This is making a call to the call magic method. We can treat the instance of the class as a function, but the subclass is callable. So that's why we see print callable of frozen dictionary X is false, because the superclass is not callable, but the subclass is. So hopefully that was interesting to you. From me, Mozo3, thanks for watching, and please subscribe.